Hi, I'm Shelley Young, owner of the Chopping Block, and today I'm going to teach you how to make crab cakes. Now, I am in Chicago, nowhere near the water, and so I hesitate to make crab cakes for you because people have very strong opinions about what a crab cake is. Consider this a Midwest crab cake. We didn't just go out to the ocean and catch the crab, but we did find a beautiful lump crab meat. We are going to use some seasonings and fillings. I think in the best case scenario, as little as you put in a crab cake is the best. Like I said, in the Midwest, we usually do a little bit more to it to season it up. This crab, I'm going to break up a little bit so that it holds together in a cake. The lump meat like this, it's just not going to hold together, so we have to break it up. That also gives me an opportunity to go through, make sure there's no shells. I'm going to add a whole egg. That's going to help us in combining, create some moisture that's going to hold this together. This is 1 stalk of celery, finely minced. This is about 2 tablespoons of minced red pepper. You can leave this out because it does have a pretty strong taste if you don't like that, but it does look really pretty. We have a tablespoon of chives. In here we've got a tablespoon of Dijon mustard, about 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise, and I've got breadcrumbs. I have a cup here, and I add them as I need them because I always want to add as little as possible, and I find it varies depending on the crab. It's hard to give an exact measurement. So I'm going to mix all of these wet ingredients in here. Just put a little in at a time. I think that's about all I'm going to need, because I can form this into a patty. That's what I'm looking for. So next step is to form the crab into cakes. And my little trick for that is I take a parchment-lined sheet tray, and I'm going to start with a scoop. You can do these smaller than this, you can do them bigger than this, it really doesn't matter. I'm going to push that in, and I'm going to lay them out onto the sheet pan like so. Make sure you leave space in between. Obviously these can be used for appetizers or entrees, so depending on your size might vary because of that. So once I've scooped these out, what I do is I take a piece of parchment paper and put it on top, and I just smash them down into a patty. These can go in the refrigerator like this if you need to make it ahead of time, but they might get a little wet. So I prefer to bread them before I do that. So we're ready to bread. What I want to do is keep one hand wet and one hand dry. So I'm going to use my right hand for my wet hand. I know it's hard to remember, hence plastic gloves if you do have them. If your hands look like claws of flour, you can just throw them off and do it again. A lot of people have a hard time remembering that. So I'm going to touch the wet crab cake with this hand. My dry hand is this hand. So I'm going to start with the flour. And what I want to do here is make sure this is well coated, but I don't want to see any clumps of flour on here. Anytime you're breading anything, if you see a clump of flour, knock it off, because when the egg gets on the clump of flour, it will pull the flour and the egg off, and the breading won't stick there. So then the crab cake goes in the egg. We're going to lightly toss it in there. Over into our panko. There we go. Easy breezy. Okay? We're just going to keep going like that. So we've breaded our crab cakes, time to saute them. This is a non-stick pan. This is certainly in time that I would use non-stick if you have it. You can do this in a regular stick pan. A light breading like this can use all the help it can get to have it stay intact. I'm using a relatively moderate heat here. I don't want this too hot because I don't want the outside to burn, but I also want it to be able to warm through So I usually like to start on a more gentle heat and cook them a little bit longer. This isn't a high heat saute. I've got grapeseed oil here today. We're going to use a good amount of oil. If you don't do this, if you say, I can't emotionally put that much oil in my pan, what's going to happen is that the breading is going to just be sitting dry on the pan, and it burns versus you getting this crispy coating on the outside. But so this is a time I would not skimp on the oil. Don't overcrowd the pan. I won't fit these all in at one time. Once these start to brown on the bottom, we'll flip them over. I just want to check and see how they're looking. Not quite. That one is. I'll flip that one up. So we've cooked the crab cakes for about 10 minutes. They're nice and golden brown. Make sure that the sides get a little bit of brown on them too. The ones I made today were really thick. So you might just roll them around on the sides a little bit in the oil. I'm going to take this. You can serve it with a little lemon, a little aioli. I think we have a video for that as well. But today I'm just going to use a little fresh chive. And that is how you make a crab cake.